Kenpo Circle number 5. In this episode, I'm going to do a quick discussion on the very basics of blocking versus positioning. So, blocking versus positioning. In Kenpo, we teach positioning over blocking because you don't want to take a primary block and just stand here and leave yourself open in case you miss. So we always position ourselves to one of usually 4 places. We either go to the inside or the outside of the strike, which is the most common. We'll even step back slightly out of the critical distance line, like in delayed sword, or we'll get in and behind an opponent, like eagle claw. And there's pros and cons to all of them. And the other thing you need to consider when you're positioning yourself, or if you're trying to create your own technique, is the distance that you need to be in. What are you going to do? What are you going to follow them up with? For example, if I am going to do a strike to the neck, like in Chinese sword, I want to come to the inside of the opponent. But if I want to throw a kick, I might use windmill guard, which means I want to go to the outside of the opponent. And then you have the distancing. How far do you step in or back? That depends there again. Are you trying to throw a kick? Are you trying to strike? What are your own critical distance lines? And what is your environment? That'll dictate a lot of what you're going to do. So let's look at the first option. First thing, and then one of the more common ones, is stepping inside of your opponent. So they throw a left or a right. It doesn't really matter. We're going to assume it's a right. And you step into or the inside of the punch. Now by doing so, you've prevented make sure the punch is going to miss you. So even if I miss the block, it doesn't matter. The punch is going to continue on, which is one reason we do so many strikes. It's not that we really expect to hit the guy 18 times, but it's to teach the students to keep moving. And you keep moving until your opponent is either no longer there or no longer a threat. If we just practice 1, 2 and we stop, we'd have to continuously start over and over and over again. Or if we did more of a freestyle where we're just sparring, then you have height and weight, and a smaller guy would have trouble handling a bigger guy. But with self-defense techniques, even a small person can take on a bigger person if they have to. And one of the main principles we teach there again is positioning first, blocking second. And this is again why. If we step in and we miss the block, there again we're going to miss the punch. We're not going to get struck by the punch. Now we do have to keep in mind that there is a left punch and we are in prime target for that. So whatever you're doing next needs to either neutralize that arm or do something to this arm that prevents that strike from happening. So we're going to keep this a simple scenario and just assume 1 strike. So as we come in, we'll use Chinese sword as an example. By striking that arm and pushing him out of the way and throwing him off balance and immediately hitting him with a knife edge to the shoulder and moving him to the side a little bit, it's going to neutralize that hand. But you have to be very quick. So when you're doing this, you need to keep in mind, is he going to throw that punch? And if he does, what can I do? So basically you would just use your point of origin and go into a different block and then maybe go into a different technique because that would change the outcome. Okay? So when you're stepping inside to your opponent, you have the whole center line to work with. It's a lot easier to strike the opponent from inside than it is from the outside. But because you are on the inside, you have to be aware of the second strike that's coming. So the pro to this is I have the face, the neck, the throat, the groin, the solar plexus, the knees. I got everything right here in front of me. The downside is I also have to worry about that second strike coming. So when you're creating a self-defense technique or following up with self-defense techniques, keep positioning in mind. Then we have to the outside. This is the second most common scenario where you step to the outside of the strike. This can be seen with windmill guard as you do a crossbody parry grab. Now then this is followed up with a kick. Now but I could easily kick and then inverted punch. I could go into wrist locks. I can punch across the face. So I still have quite a few targets as I did by going to the inside. I just now don't have as many. Because from the outside, I have the knee, I have his ribs, I have the side of the neck, and I had the side of the face and the head. Okay, but I can always use my steps that I've learned, my stances, like cross steps and step drags, to get in behind your opponent or get to the other side of them, or I can move them around to where I have a better position. The upside to this is not only are you on the outside, you don't have to worry about that second strike coming, because you're on the outside of it. There's no way they can hit you. So this is one of the safer places to be rather than on the inside. The other advantage to being on the outside is you have a little more room to work with. Unlike on the inside, I can't do a lot of kicking in here. Okay, there's just not really enough room if you think about just the width of the opponent's body. Okay, and how close you are when you step in. But by being on the outside, there again, you have the wheel kicks, you got roundhouse kicks, you got front snap kicks depending on what leg's forward, side thrust kicks to break legs out. So you have a lot more room to work with, and you can position your distance between you and your opponent to set that up. Okay, the third way is like I talked about with delayed sword, is you get out of the critical distance line. Just enough so that you don't get hit. But you're still close enough that you can get the block in. And that's why you don't want to step way back too far when you do delayed sword, because you still want to block that punch. But you're literally blocking it right at the wrist or slightly higher and way before out here. Okay, this should be blocked here. So if it does keep coming, there's not much behind it, because it's already generated all the power it's going to, and anything after that is on the downhill. Okay, the downside to this is the distance between you and your opponent. So you will have to throw a kick or some type of a kick if you step back to get back into the inside or outside of your opponent. Also, by being out here, you're limited on what you can do. You will almost definitely have to either get in closer to your opponent or go to the inside or the outside, and that can easily be done by just throwing a kick and readjusting that kick. So you could do like delayed sword, front snap kick, set the kick down, go into a roundhouse to the outside. Now I'm on the outside of the opponent. Okay, now I can do a lot more than I could before. Also, you could throw the front snap kick, settle down, and then maybe shuffle in a little bit as you throw a strike or something else that allows you to get inside to the opponent. Okay, the fourth way, which is, it's used, but it's not so used a lot, and I'm going to combine these two ways kind of together. It's kind of the side and back area, or some systems call it the flank. And an example of this would be like eagle claw, which is a punch from the side. So as you do your brush block, you're going to come in and get behind your opponent so that you can grab them and throw a knee to the back and then drop them down to the knee, to your other knee. That is the other positioning that we use. But the initial positioning would be actually doing the brush block. That's the primary. And there again, we're getting slightly to the outside so that the punch can come. It's only the attacks that's going to be on the back side. So this is kind of a flank plus a back side, or dark side, some people call this, to the attack. Now from behind, you're even more limited than you were from the front, because you only have the back, so you're really limited on just to pretty much knees, or maybe punches to kidneys, chops and elbows to heads. You don't have a lot of those options that you do from the front. Usually when you go behind or to the dark side, as they call it, it's because you're going to be taking them down. You're going to drive knees into the back like you do on eagle claw, and then you're going to take them to the ground and do other side of a kick or striking scenario that allows you to finish up that particular defense. So when you're doing blocking versus positioning, always consider your position. Okay, think of every technique that you've learned and how it positions you just outside of that punch. Now also you need to consider when doing this is the distance. Okay, a lot of students, they'll get way out here, and a lot of times we teach it that way. We'll teach you to step to 10 o'clock rather than 11 so that your confidence can build. But as you get better at what you're doing, you should be able to get in a lot tighter to your opponent, and you should know your own critical distance. Where do you need to be to throw that kick into the groin or into the solar plexus, or to use a knee strike to the thighs? So keep that in mind when you're doing your positioning. How far away do you need to be? Do I want to be in tight? If I'm in tight, what are my options? If I'm on the outside in tight, what can I use? Which is basically your knees and your elbows. Okay? And then, of course, keep in mind, like I've explained, targets. Okay? Straight in front, you have all the targets in the world. You start wrapping it around to the sides and back. You start losing a lot of those targets, but you still have a lot of vital ones that you can use to get the damage done to end the fight. Okay, so blocking versus positioning. Positioning is always number one. Okay, blocking is secondary because I can avoid a fight without ever throwing a punch just by positioning myself differently for every strike. As long as he doesn't hit me, there's nothing that can be done. Okay, so always put yourself in a position to defend. Okay, the block is part of the defense. So positioning is your primary way to defend yourself. If you're out of the way, even if you miss the block, you can continue on with your strikes. And that's what Kenpo teaches you. Kenpo teaches you strike, 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 strike. Hit them. Keep hitting them. My students would say hit them until they shake forever. Okay? But that's why we do it. We want you to keep moving. As I always say, keep moving forward until you no longer need to. Okay, that is this episode of the Kenpo Circle. I hope you enjoyed my little talk on blocks versus positioning, and I hope to see you in our next episode. Until then, as always, keep moving forward and put your comments and suggestions below.